Hello and welcome to Hexed Encountered. My name is Joe. Today we are going to be continuing our playthrough of NATO Air Commander from Hollandspiele, designed by Brad Smith. I completed turn 1 in the first video, and so if you haven't watched that one, I would suggest jumping in and watching that one first before you take on this one, because I'm going to probably explain the mechanics a lot less in this particular video and hopefully start moving a little faster, maybe get 2 turns in this video as opposed to just 1 from the first video, just to kind of continue the game here. So we are about to pick it up here at the start of turn 2. Before I do that, I just wanted to mention I got some reinforcements. Here we are playing scenario 1 here, the build-up scenario, and as you can see right here, we got some reinforcements at the end of turn 1. We got I believe that's a Harrier, and then we got an F-16, an F-111, a pair of F-15s, and an A-10. So we'll be adding those to our forces. I already did that, actually. They're all in here. I kind of stacked the like aircraft together. We've got a pretty sizable air force going right now. We did not lose any. We did not have anybody get damaged or lose anybody in the first round. I'm going to deal out my 6 reinforcement cards for the tracks for the Warsaw Pact forces here. So we have Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, and Foxtrot. The Warsaw Pact currently has 2 victory points. We are trying to keep them from getting to 14 or higher. And so we're ready to begin, actually, and we will start by going back to our objective phase. So our receive objective phase, we have a deck of objective cards here. We draw 2. So first objective card is shuffle. Shuffle all objective discards and drawn cards into the new deck, drawing 2 new objectives. If this card is drawn at that time, it's a null objective. So if you get that card twice, it counts as a null objective, basically. So I'm going to pause for a second while I shuffle these. Okay, so let's try this again. We'll take 2 cards. First card, the Big Push. The Supreme Allied Commander Europe expects 5 successful close air support raids to be conducted this turn. That's pretty tough. We get 3 resource points if we successfully complete it, and 1 Warsaw Pact retreat in each of 2 sectors, 2 retreats total. That would be outstanding to get that, because they actually made 3 advances in turn 1. For failure, we lose 1 RP for each close air support raid under 5 that does not score a hit. So 5 raids, that's hard. That's real hard. And the other one is the U.S. 7th Corps counterattacks. Commander Sentag requests 4 close air support hits in Sector Delta, 3 RP for success, 1 Warsaw Pact retreat in Delta. That would be good as well, because they also made an advance in turn 1. And I'm sorry, this is out of focus. We lose 2 RP if we don't succeed. All right, so we have 1 that should be achievable, 1 that's going to be difficult. Okay, so after that, you go to your recon phase. Now, as I explained in the first part here, you can do unlimited recon missions, but as soon as you fail one, it is game over as far as that phase is concerned. So we have battlefield surveillance, locate headquarters, and locate staging areas. So locating headquarters allows you to do the decap mission. Locating staging areas lets you do the FOFA mission. And battlefield surveillance lets you basically look at the resolution deck and decide on the event that's on it, whether you want to have that event or stick it at the bottom of the deck. So I'm going to attempt again to do a decap. So the way this works is you draw a card. If the air intercept value is 6 or higher, it's a fail, and you're done with recon. If it isn't, you succeed, and that enables you to be able to continue to do those. So we're going to flip our first card. Our air intercept number is a 6. So we fail again. Okay, so we'll put that out as a discard. And two turns in a row. Let me move my game turn to 2. I forgot to do that. 2 turns in a row, we did not take care of that. So it's now air planning phase. I'm actually going to do this off camera for time's sake. And when I come back, I'll show you the raids I set up. Okay, so as you can see, I put my raid markers out. So raid 1 is here in Bravo. Raid 3 is in Charlie. Raids 2 and 4 are in Delta. That's the one I need to get 4 hits. And raid 5 is up here in Alpha. Now what those raids are is over here. So raid 1, we're going to use our stealth fighter. So that's raid 1 here. He's got a 6. So assuming we don't pull a 10 on the card, he'll get through and he'll do 1 hit because I didn't use a precision guided munition. So I'll take my 1 hit there in Bravo. 2, we've got an F-16 and a F-111 that will be taking on one of the two raids into Delta with a strength of 9, and they're going to use they do have precision guided munitions, so it's going to become an 18, which, if you know how resolution works in this game from the first video, you divide by 5, round down, so 18 would become 3. That would be 3 hits if that raid gets in there. Raid 4, the other one, has a power of 6. It'll also be doubled to 12, so that would be 2 hits. So I get 5 if both of those raids succeed. And that would be 1 more than the 4 we need for the 7 core counterattack objective. And then here we have Raid 3 has a strength of 10. So that's right here in Charlie. That would be 2 hits, assuming it gets in. And Raid 5 has a strength of 6, so that again would be 1 hit, just like Raid 1. And Raid 5 is up here in Alpha. Now, as far as air support, air escort, we have the 18 and a 16, the Canadian F-18, CF-18, and the American F-16 here for Raid 2. Raid 1 doesn't need any. They also have an A-10 for the air defenses, the suppression of enemy air defenses. We have our 2 A-10s on raids 2 and 3. Raid 3 has the F-16, and that's a Tornado there. So that's 10. We have 11, 10. So this one's going to pass because the highest value on the card is a 10. And the 7 here, we use the middle number for the SEAD, 7. This one has a 10. This is an 8. This is an F-15. And then we have a Phantom here, I believe. Or is that... I'm not sure what that one is, actually. That one is, I can look in the book. That is a 476. That is a Jaguar. Okay, Jaguar. British aircraft. Not familiar with that silhouette. So we have 2 F-15s here, flying air escort. Then we have some those are Germans. These are F4s, so Phantoms. So that's our air and suppression of the enemy air defenses and our escorts. And again, the F-117 doesn't need it. So for resolution, we draw resolution cards. We'll start at the top with the F-117 because it's a special case. If it's a 10 in either of these 2 numbers, it would be a fail and they would be shot down. It was not. So you just go to the resolution. They do 1 hit of damage. So we take one of the chits here. This is a damaged chit, and we replace Raid 1 with the 1 chit there in close air support. I'll put Raid 1 back in its box. Show that it's done. Now we'll do Raid 2. Same thing here, but we start with the air intercept. So we draw that. We got an 8, but we have 11, so it's a pass. Next card for the suppression of enemy air defenses. We look at ground defense, 6. The Warthog is a 7, so that's a pass. So now we go here, and we have 9 doubled with our precision guided munitions. Gives us an 18. That's 3 hits. So we'll put a 3 on here for for Raid 2 rather. And we'll put Raid 2 back. Now we do Raid 3. Same thing, the air intercept is a 9. We have a 10, so it passes. Our suppression of enemy air defenses, 7. Got a 2, so that also passes. So now we have 10 there. That's also 2 hits. So 2 hits for raid 3. So we replace that like so. And you see how this goes. This is pretty straightforward. Now we go to raid 4. We have an air escort of 8, and we got a 9. So that's a fail. Okay, so what happens when you fail? Well, aside from making me not be able to complete my my secondary objective here, and actually it's going to fail both my objectives. So we're going to lose some RPs here, which is fantastic. I have 3 at the moment, as you can kind of see right here at the bottom. Okay, so when you lose, when a raid is not successful, you have to check for damage. So you pull a card and you look at the number here at the bottom, and it says 21. So you got to look for your unit that's closest to 21, to the number 21. And we have 5, 32, 28, and 20. So the 20 is our German, British rather, Jaguar is going to take a hit. So he goes to his damaged side. So that's the end of that raid. So that was raid 4. So we only get 3 in Delta, which stinks. So close. So now we'll do raid 5. So raid 5, we have an 8 with our F-15. So it passes the air. We have an 8 for our ground defense. That also passes. So this raid works. It's a 10. Divide by 2 means we do 2 points of damage. So raid 5 does 2 points of damage. And we put that back there. And we put a 2 there. Okay, so that is the end of the air resolution phase, I believe is what it's called. Raid resolution phase. So the end of the raid resolution phase. So our war is not off to a very promising start here. We didn't get our retreats that I was hoping to get. So I could have done 6 raids. I was trying to focus on getting, the raids I had done. And I also did this thing called OEW escort. It's important to try and move your OCA and your DEAD tracks, which are off camera right now. Try to move those to the right because you gain points that are negative modifiers on the card number. So we actually had a -1, but we pulled a 9, which made it an 8, and the F-15 is an 8. So that actually meant that it was a tie, which goes to the enemy, unfortunately. So next up is our ground combat phase. So what we do here is we look at this number and our defense number. So we have a 3 plus 2 is 5. We draw a card. We look at our ground attack resolve, which is a 1. So that makes a 6, which is less than the Soviets or the Warsaw Pact 7. So they lose. They get bumped out. He takes Bremen with his 7, and they get 2 more victory points. Then we do this one, which is 1 plus 3 against a 4. Ground attack's a 6, so that's a 5 to 4. So in that case, the NATO wins. And then we do next. We have 2 plus 4 is 6, taking on an 8. We get a 1, so that's another loss. So we lose here as well. And they move up even closer to Frankfurt, which is bad for me. And next we have here 3 in Delta plus 3 is 6, taking on an 8. We get a 2, that's a tie, that goes to them. They lose, they advance, they took Nuremberg, that's 1 more point. Okay, now we go to where we didn't have any strikes at all. Echo, 4 to 1. Attack resolves a 3, so it's a tie, but ties go to the Warsaw Pact, so they lose there as well. So things are going swimmingly for the Politburo here. We'll go Foxtrot, 5 to 2, and we get a 0. So they lose as well. And they take Linz, which is 2 more points. So they're up to 7. They're up to 7, and things just went really poorly for me in that phase. So now we move to the reinforcement phase, and we pull our reinforcement. So this is Alpha. They get 1 point, which is all they really could get because they already were at 7. So they're now at 8. Bravo. You get a shuffle card. So I think when we pull a shuffle on reinforcement, that line receives 0 reinforcements according to the rule book. So that's good. That's the first good news I've had all day. I'll just pull the rest of these and then we'll shuffle. So we go to Charlie. Charlie gets 2 reinforcements. So they stay at 8 because that's where they already were. What was Nuremberg? They weren't a 2, were they? They couldn't have been a 2. They must have been like a 4. I'll check that after and fix it for turn 3. Then we'll do Delta. If I can pick it up. Delta gets 1. So I'll make it a 5 for now because I think that was a 4. 3 for Echo. So they go to a 7. And Foxtrot also gets 3. So they go to an 8. Okay, now we draw a card for NATO reinforcements. They get 9. Thank you. That is excellent. We really need it because our forces are flagging badly. So 9, we have 6 thrust lines to deal with here. So I'm going to bump the Foxtrot up by 1. Yeah, we'll take 1 there. I'm going to take 2 here on Echo to go to a 3. So that's 3. I'm going to go 1 here in Frankfurt to be a 5. We'll go 2 here. 1 in Stuttgart for Delta, rather. 2 in Frankfurt to go to a 6. So that's 6 total. Here in Bravo, we'll go 1. So that's 7, and we'll take 2 in Bremerhaven to go from a 3 to a 5. So that helps. That beefs up our defenses. They still have really strong armies, and I really need my close air support. My close air support to work, basically. So we would now move on to the events phase. So we draw an event card and we get another no effect. So that's 2 in a row, no effect. I forgot to shuffle. I'm supposed to shuffle. So I'm going to shuffle right now. Now we do our resource point phase. First I have to reduce my resource points by a total of 3. We lose 2 from not getting 4 close air support in Delta. And we lose another 1 because we had 4 successful raids, 1 less than 5, so we lose 1 there. So that takes us down to 0. At least I didn't go negative. So now we do resource points. So I gain resource points for everyone who's in their start box. That's only 1. So I gain 1 back for that. And then I gain 1 for each of the major cities I still hold that are marked with this 3 plus RP. So I have 1. I have Munich. I have Frankfurt. That's 2. I have Bonn. That's 3. And Amsterdam is 4. So I get 4 points for that. So that brings us up to 5. And then I get, I would get 1 more for each of the DEAD track and the OCA track if they were already completed, but they are not. So I'm at 5, which is, not terrible. I have 3 PGMs left. I did not buy a pilot. So you can buy a pilot for 2 RP. And that's these guys right here. So it's a pilot marker. And what that does is it lets you basically expend the pilot card for exchanging a result. So like if I had one when raid 4 failed, I could have expended this and pulled the next card, and maybe the next card would have been better. And then I would have, maybe not have I would have actually succeeded in my mission if I could have completed it. So after this, we can spend our points. So you know what? I am going to buy a pilot because I don't want to get caught short again. That brings us down to 3. And then I'll buy 1 PGM to go back to 4, and that'll take us to 0. So we got to hope for a better run in turn number 3. I could have used that. You know what? I'm going to ditch the pilot. That'll give me 2 back. You know what? No, I'm not. I'm going to keep my pilot, and I'll have one damaged unit here. You have to spend 2 on your damaged units to get them back to basing. Well, let me move these guys back too. So I keep the pilot. I'll just leave this guy in the damaged box, and then we'll repair him before sending him back to base. Okay, so now we go to the turn end phase. So the air mission display, return all our raid markers. We already did that. All full strength air units are moved to basing. I just did that. Damaged air units may either be placed in the basing box where they can fly at reduced, or they can be placed in the damaged box. I'm going to keep them in the damaged box and not risk actually having them destroyed, even though I could rebuild it. We'll just leave them there and hope that I don't get crazy objectives in this turn. The OEW, I took care of those guys. Okay, so we have to draw cards for the dead and OCA tracks to see if they recover. We drew a 3. So an odd number is no effect, so the dead track stays the same. And a 10 means that the OCA track goes back to 0. Fantastic. Okay, so that takes care of that. The nuclear escalation doesn't take effect until they get to 20. So they are not there yet, thankfully. Okay, so none of the Warsaw Pact forces have reached the end of their thrust line. They get an additional point when that happens at the end of every turn, as long as it's turns 1 through 6. So we're only in turn 2, but now we're going to turn 3. And turn 3, we just start over again. We go to our receive objective phase. So we're going to draw 2 more objective cards here. 1, 2. And we get shuffle again. And so we're going to do that. So we will shuffle. Okay, we'll try this again. This card is drawn at this time. It's a null objective. So we get a null objective. And the next one is the one we just had, I think. Yep, 4 close air support. Hits Insecta Delta. So we're looking at Delta again, which is actually a fine one because that's where Nuremberg is, and I'd like to push them back out of there if possible. So I need 4 close air support hits in Delta. I might hit that with 3 strikes this time since I only have 1 objective. So once we do that, we go to our recon phase, which I failed twice now. So hopefully we'll try this again. We'll go for a decap. And again, we pull, and it's a 4, so it's actually successful. So now I can do a decap strike. So we'll talk about that at raid planning time. But that's good. We can do a decap strike. So now I can do another one. Now, decap you can only do once, I believe. Yes. Okay, so place the decap strike here. So we're going to place that there so we know we can do it. And so now we go to, what else do we want to do? We could do the staging areas. So we'll do a staging area. So we pull another card. And it's a 7, so that ends recon. So unfortunately, we will not get to do the FOFA mission, which you get, which is enabled by having a successful locate staging area. So now we go to the planning phase. So again, I'm going to pause while I do this. I'm going to do the decap strike. I'll probably do an OCA strike, and then I'm going to try to do something with Delta over here. And I may do OEW as well, which I know you guys can't see it, but the OEW is offensive electronic warfare. Basically, the way that works is you put 2 units with at least a 1 in their air their air value. So the only one that wouldn't work for that is the F-117, which in my opinion is way too useful to actually use in that regard anyway. You put them in there are two boxes at the bottom. Here are the two boxes. So I can put anybody I want in there, so let's just say for the sake of argument, I stick this in there, and actually the A-10s won't go in there either. And then maybe like one of the Harriers or something. So with that in there, this would move this to 1 automatically, but it's temporary, and it would go back after the end of the turn. At the end of the turn, it goes back. So it's like a temporary OCA, which is nice because last turn it was on this one, and moving it to the right kept it at 1, so it wasn't even really worth it, but I did it anyway. So this time I'm going to do it. I'll figure out which 2 I'm going to put in there just to do that, and then maybe I won't do an OCA raid, although I want to. I also would like to do a DEAD raid. The problem is I need to make sure I get my 4 successful hits in Delta. So I'm going to do the air raiding plan and air raid planning or raid planning, air planning phase. Got to get my jargon down. Air planning phase, and then we'll be back momentarily. Okay, so here's our plan. So the OEW escort, because I want to get this 1, which will adjust our air down 1, and we also get 1 for actually we don't, because I'm not doing a DEAD strike, no dead strike this time. I elected to put my damaged F4 back out here. So, or is this the Jaguar? I think that might be the Jaguar. Whatever. I put it out. Yeah, it's not an F4, it's a Jaguar. So I put that back out just to do this, because then it's an automatic success. It counts as a successful mission if you're doing the full massive air campaign that we haven't drawn yet for the objectives. So that's what I'm doing down here. And then for the raids themselves, okay, so for the raids themselves, we have raid 1, which is in Delta. 1 and 2 are in Delta. So it's going to have a strike strength of 10. This one will have 11. So those are 2 hits each if they get through. We got our F-15s with 8s for our air escort. We have 12 and 12 because we have Harrier and A-10s working together for the air defense suppression. So if we get past this, we'll definitely get past that. And we need 9 or 10 to not get past here. We get these 2. This will happen. We'll get our 4 hits, and we'll pass our thing. We'll get 3 RPs, and we'll make them retreat from Nuremberg, which will be nice. Then in raid 3, we're using a PGM, so our precision guided munition. Our strength will be 8 doubled to 16, so that's 3 hits. We've got an F-16 and a Tornado for air support for 10. Which again, because of the modifier, that's going to be an automatic pass. But we could lose it here because we only have a 7 on our Warthog, or Thunderbolt if you'd prefer. Then so this 3 is actually in Charlie, which I'll show you the map here in a second. But Charlie is they've actually made 2 progress in Alpha and Charlie. So 3's in Charlie, 4's in Alpha. Hopefully we can do some damage to them. I'm hoping. Anyway, both of those are also like 8s. So we want to try and whittle them down and hope that we can make a stand in those 2 places, because we don't want to lose, especially in Charlie, because that's Frankfurt is going to be tough. And that would actually push them to the end of that thrust line as well. So we have 8 doubled to 16, so that'll be 3 hits. That's going to pass. We have a risk here. This is the biggest risk we're taking. We've got 1 single Harrier with a 5. Could be tough. But, and I'll get to this in a moment, this will pass, and then this is 6 doubled to 12. We get 2 hits. This is going to be at thrust line Alpha. No raid 5 through 9, but we have a decap strike using our F-117 doubled. That'll be a 12. So it gets denied. It'll become a 2. 2 hits on a decap strike. The first strike lets you pull a card from the game, a resolution card, permanently. The second one lets you basically act like it acts like a pilot in a way, in that if you pull a card, a resolution card you don't like, you can toss it and pull another one. So that's good to have. And then I also have my pilot, so I should hopefully, if this is successful, and the only way it's not is if we get a 10 on either air or ground on the resolution card that we pull. If that doesn't happen, then this will get through. We'll do our strike, and we'll move on to, doing these other strikes with a little bit of a safety net between our pilot, who's down here, and I keep pointing to it, and you can't see it, but here's our pilot. We have our pilot. He's in the pilot box. So if that happens, I can use the pilot to re-pull a card. Hopefully I don't lose 2 in a row. And then with the decap, if that goes through, I'll have another backup as well. So I'm hoping that this time we'll have a successful turn. Okay, so I didn't mention it, but I did draw cards. They're at the top. They're not, you can't see them, but I drew the reinforcement cards for the Warsaw Pact forces. So we're going to do resolution. We'll start here. So I pull a card, no 10s. So that gets through. So we get 2 decap strikes. So I get to pull a card out. So I'm going to look through the deck here and pull a card out. So if you pull that card, you're supposed to put the discards back in and shuffle. So I will do that. The card I took out of the game is this one. I mean, the event is nice, but 4 Warsaw Pact reinforced, 2 NATO, that's bad. 1 attack resolve, that's bad. And then 9s for those 2, just bad. Bad in general. That card's out. I was going to take a 10, but that one had some bad in the other areas as well. So I gave this a shuffle, and we're going to pick this up. So this was successful. I'm going to toss my PGM and my decap strike marker out. Now I know I also have my backup of the if the mission, something goes awry, I can redraw. So now we're going to do air escort for raid 1. We drew a 2, so that's good. We drew a 10, but that's a 12, so still good. So now we got 10, that's 2 hits, so we're going to put a 2 hit marker here on raid 1. Halfway to what we need. Put raid 1 back. Raid 2, air escort 7. Actually, we do have 1 from our OCA, so that would get modified down to a 6. So that's still good. 12 again on ground, so that's a 6, also good. So we get 2 hits again. So this is I'm just gonna change this to a 4, and we'll take raid 2 out. So we got our 4 hits in Delta. We're gonna be able to push them back and get 3 RPs as well. So that's a big relief for me. Now we'll do air again. This can't fail, even though this is a 10. They're a 10, but this gets modified down to a 9. So that worked out. And then we get a 3 for ground rather. So that's a 7, still good. We got 8 doubled is 16. That's 3 hits. And raid 3 is here in Charlie. So they're going to get 3 hits. And we put raid 3 back, toss this. Now we got raid 4. So again, the air can't fail. We'll pull the card anyway. So the air kit is 11. Basically, it's essentially a 12. But, all right. So this is the first time I'm going to have to use my pilot. Because we got a 7. The Harrier only has a 5. So we're going to expend our pilot. And we're going to draw a card. We got an 8. So you know what? I'm going to use my decap. And we're going to draw another card. And we drew a 9. So that one, I guess, was just not to be. That's terrible. So again, we draw a card. The number is 2. And guess what? That's a 2. So flipped over. It's going to go in the damaged box. Raid 4 does nothing. And that is the end of that. So now we go to ground combat. So if we have the objectives, we can advance the... I haven't been doing this, but at the end of the air raid resolution, you can move. So I get my 3 RPs for my successful thing of getting 4 hits in Delta. So we also get a retreat. So what happens when they retreat is we move them back, and then we pull one of our dead units out, and they go back on the board as a 1. So, and then this one was our blank because we pulled it twice. So that's going to go over here to the objective card discard, and we will move on to ground combat. So ground combat, we'll start up top here. This is probably not going to go well. We have 8 to 5. Oh, we get a 4. So that's a 9. So that's good. So they get knocked down to a 7. So that was nice. And then we'll go to Bravo. And we get another 4, which makes that a 7, which is more than double this. So this guy gets knocked all the way down to a 1. Gets all the way down to a 1. And they have to move back as well. If the Warsaw Pact already... Okay, so in theory, you would, because they couldn't retreat, they would have to lose another cohesion point, but they can't go below 1. So he's at 1, and he's going to stick there. But that was nice. So now we got 8 and 6 with a +3. So we have 9 and 8. So this should be this should be a win. All resolution values are 0, but it's a shuffle card, so I'm going to shuffle. But that's a win anyway. So they lose a point. This goes away. And now I'm going to shuffle real quick. Pause for a moment. Okay, we'll move on to Delta, where we have 4 plus 1 is 5 against 5. So this should be a win. 0. Open my big mouth. That's awful. So they lose, and he gets Nuremberg again. I didn't move them down, so actually they stay at 7 because I did not move them down. So that retreat was momentary at best. Now we'll go to Echo. We get a 7 versus a 3. We need a big one, and we got a 4, which would tie, but again, tie goes to the enemy. So they move up, and here we got 8 to 4 in Foxtrot, and we got a 2, so obviously that's an L. They move up. They get one more victory point there for Land's Hut. And things are looking kind of bad here. But that is the end of our ground combat phase. We go to reinforcement phase. So we start at Alpha 5. They are at 7, so they go to 8. And Bravo. Oh, come on. Why can't I pick these cards up? 2. So they were at 1. They go to a 3. And Charlie. Ugh. This is ridiculous. 1. So they go to an 8. And Delta 4. They were at 5, so they go to an 8. And Echo is a 3. They go to an 8. And Foxtrot is a 3. They go to they stay at an 8. So, all right. So that is the end of their reinforcement phase, and we pull for us. We get 2. 2. Okay, that's fantastic. I have 2 down here. 8 versus 2. 8 versus 2. This is actually an RP. This is Munich, so I need to make this a 4. And then I'm going to have to concentrate on Echo for air support. It would be nice if I got an objective that went along with it, because I can't, if I lose that in turn 4, that would be bad. So that's the end of the reinforcement phase. We do events phase. Again, no event. I have yet to get an event. And then we go to our resource point phase. So again, any packed army in its start box, we have 1, we get a point. So we're up to 4 major cities, our 3 victory point cities. We've still got all 4, Amsterdam, Bonn, Frankfurt, and Munich for now. So that's 4 more. So we get to 8. And that's all we get. We don't have our dead track. This goes back there. These go back in the box. So now we're going to do the end turn phase. So we need to clean all this up. And then we do our OEW, which I already did. We do the DEAD and OCA recovery. So we get a 1, so no recovery for DEAD. And we get a 10, but they're already at 0 for the OCA, so that doesn't matter. Nuclear escalation, they're at 8 victory points, not 20. And so that is it. They don't have anybody at the end of their thrust lines, although this one's close. And this one's close. Only in Bravo are we kind of holding the line at Hanover. I mean, we've lost Hamburg, Bremen, Fulda, Nuremberg, Landshut, Regensburg, Linz. We're just in bad shape here. So that actually is the end of turn number 3. I never moved the turn track. That's the end of turn number 3. I need to spend my RP, so I will do that. This is damaged as well. So I will pay the 4, I guess. We'll go down to 4 to get these guys back to full strength and active. And then I will spend 3 more on a PGM to give me 2. I'd like to have at least a couple for turn 4. I'm going to put them over here so that they're visible. So I've got those 2, and I'm down to 1, so I can't buy any pilots. And we're going to be stuck here and go on. I'll clean all this up off camera, but for now I'm going to wrap it up. We've done turns 2 and 3. Hopefully you're getting the hang of how this game works. Even though I'm getting my butt kicked, I feel like I'm having fun here. So I'm going to sign off for now. My name is Joe. This has been Hexed Encountered. Thank you as always for watching. Please consider liking, sharing, and or subscribing to help my channel grow. I would be greatly appreciative. And just please consider that. And until next time, as always, happy gaming.